Okay, everyone hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Thank you all, and thank you all who are joining us. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the conversation. Thank you for tuning in with Go Vertical. I am Herbie Gibbs Jr. Joining me is Joe DeBose, Joshua Gibbs, Brianna McCrae, and
Hello.
Heavenly Banks. And some topics and issues often necessitate a conversation to answer the tough and challenging questions among youth and young adults. Today, as we engage in the conversation and dive into the topic, are you a good friend? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comment section during our time of gathering. Remember, this is a conversation and we learn through means of exchange. As stated by Linda Lamb, one good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. Now, let's get started. I would like to begin us with a quote from Michelle Obama when she wrote, "We should always have three friends in our lives. One we look up to and follow, one who is with us every step of our journey, and then one who we reach back for and bring along after we've cleared the way." So, vital to our existence are relationships. According to Oxford Dictionary, relationships in the way in which two or more concepts, objects, and people are connected or the state of being connected. As stated by author Barbara Smith, trust is to human relationships what faith is to gospel living. It is the beginning place, the foundation upon which more can be built. Where trust is, love can flourish. And despite the difficulties in life, and yes, we all have experienced some form of difficulty, we need individuals around us who will fight for and with us during each battle, even when the battle is within you. Referencing the opening quote back to Michelle Obama, we need relationships with individuals we can look up to, walk through process with, and those we can positively influence. If not, we never see change in our relationships. So there are many types of definitions for relationships and many forms of relationships, but today for this conversation, we will focus on friendship. According to Good Therapy, friendship is a close association between two people marked by feelings of care, respect, admiration, concern, and even love. Friendships can be considered the glue that holds humans, families, and communities together. As stated by psychologist Caroline Anderson, friendships fulfill an innate human need. Friendships aren't just about having people to share experiences with. Friendships are crucial to our mental, emotional, and overall health. Good friendships are like medicine to the soul and can shift the trajectory of life for better or worse.
So true.
So consider social media, where we may call people friends or who are fans or frenemies. In an article, psychologist explains the power of friendships. Caroline Anderson further adds, there is a small connection that happens over social media. You can be in the loop of about where people are or what they are doing, but in terms of a benefit to our well-being, it's the face-to-face connection that really makes a difference. Many friendships end because people do not establish boundaries or enter friendships with different interests. That is, platonic friendships.
Mhm.
Well, our foundation outlines the 5 requirements for our strong friendship. That's trust, equality, compassion,
Mhm.
honesty, and independence. These are just a few identified requirements, but many more assist in the growth and sustainment of healthy friendships. Without establishing boundaries and or shared interests, any friendship can quickly end and or shatter. Many factors influence or negatively impact friendships. In the article How Friendships End: Patterns Among Young Adults, the author Susanna M. Rose identifies 4 different patterns that can end a friendship. That's physical separation, new friends
Mhm.
replacing the old, growing to dislike the friend, and interference from dating or marriage. Typically, these patterns become more apparent as a person gets older, particularly
Mhm.
during college and young adult years. Other factors are different interests, beliefs, ambitions, one's spiritual walk, etc. Although many circumstances can interfere with friendships, the strongest one often remain intact through adversity.
Considering adversity, the Greek philosopher Epicurus stated, "You don't
Mhm.
develop courage in your relationships by being happy every day. You
Mhm.
develop it by surviving the difficult times and challenging adversity." And although everyone has their own idea of what friendship is, there are common themes that are markers for a good and strong friendship.
Mhm.
Psychology today actually explains the construct of friendship. It implies reciprocity and give and take, where support is expected to flow both ways.
Mhm.
Perhaps most importantly, genuine friendships will only flourish if mutual respect exists between those friends.
Mhm.
And as a young person, we've probably heard this statement: there's levels to this. The same can be said for friendship, because friendship commitments, they vary over a lifetime.
Mhm.
But the committed friends who are there doing the good and the bad, the
Yes.
highs and the lows, pretty and the ugly, the ups and the downs,
Yes.
those are the ones that we need to keep close. It's the friends who show you they love you and they're not just saying it.
Mhm.
Those are the relationships where both parties can flourish in every aspect of life. Because it's out of love that we as humans can grow, thrive, and prosper, regardless of the adversity we face. Joyce
Mhm.
Myers wrote, "We can improve our relationships with others by leaps and bounds if we become encouragers instead of critics." I love this scripture in Colossians 3, verses 12 through 14, where Paul is speaking to the church of Colossus. He says to them, "You are always and dearly loved by God. So robe yourself with virtues of God, since you have been divinely chosen to be holy. Be merciful as you endeavor to understand others, and be compassionate, showing kindness toward all. Be
Mhm.
gentle and humble, unoffendable in your patience with others.
Mhm.
Tolerate the weaknesses of those in the family of faith, forgiving one another in the same way you have been graciously forgiven by Jesus Christ.
That's the
If you
one.
find fault with someone, release this same gift of forgiveness to them. For love is supreme, and it must flow through each of these virtues, because love becomes the mark of true maturity. When individuals learn how to express love, compassion, gentleness, patience, and forgiveness, that's when healthy relationships are formed and sustained through long periods of time.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was the introduction to frame our questions for today as we discuss, are you a good friend? The first question being a 3-in-1. How do most friendships end? What are the factors that either build or destroy relationships? And why are so many friendships ending before their time?
You know what, Joy? I would like to take the first question. This is how do most friendships end? And we can see most friendships end, in heartbreak, loneliness, for some people, depression. And in
Mm,
some other cases, someone might be actually genuinely happy or joyful that a friendship end. And I say this because I experienced this with one of an older friend that I have. It was kind of more of like a not a relief, but it seems like those individuals that may seem controlling or just attached, they like you feel like you can do anything, they'll get upset when you do something without them. They'll say something about everything you do, everything you say,
mm,
is always either criticizing or they want all your attention from themselves. So once you realize that relationship or that friendship is, I want to say toxic, but it kind of like not it eases the wrong way or it just make things a little bit uneasy for you. It can be
mm,
pretty much of a freedom or just a release. But most of the time, and I experienced myself, some of the friendships that I had to walk away from or just kind of had to allow to like just dwindle, it was painful. I felt lonely, from time to time because you thought that friend that you used to hang out with, you used to text a lot, you used to see almost every day or every other day, that person is no longer in your life. So what and how do you replace that person, with another person? Some people end up getting into other things because of a friendship. Some others may be a relationship. So most of most of the times we do feel that pain, that loneliness, that heartbreak, and sometimes that depression when we lose a friend.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. Sometimes friendships end because of misunderstandings
Mm-hmm.
or betrayal or the fact that you all weren't even friends to begin with. Maybe they were inconsistent. So there are a lot of factors. But even going back to the not being friends in the first place, sometimes we do use that word so loosely,
Yes, we
and we
do.
don't really understand what a good friend is,
Friends.
which is why we need this conversation today. And that even goes into like the second question, which I kind of want to address. What builds a relationship? And I think that is time, respect.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like you said when you were saying how the person was controlling. In my mind, I compute that too. That computes to me that they don't respect you, that they don't see you as an equal, if they're trying to control you. But also going into that, building a good relationship, a good friendship is intentionality. And I think that's the case in like
Mm-hmm.
any relationship. You have to be intentional about spending time with them. You have to be intentional about getting to know them and understanding who they are, what they struggle with, even what are their good qualities and what are their bad qualities.
Yes.
Yes.
And that, I kind of touched on how it destroys. But it could be the exact opposite. You're not spending time. You don't respect each other. You're dishonest. You have different beliefs, or even you have different expectations for the friendship. Like you
Mm-hmm.
go in expecting something different, and they didn't understand that expectation that you had.
I want to touch on a factor that may destroy a relationship, like trauma from past relationships may destroy
Okay.
current
That's very good.
That's
relationships.
good.
You may project what happened in past relationships onto your current one, and it could be detrimental. You may think whatever that person did in the past, this person gonna do it too. So you never fully trust them, and
Mm.
and it's not really built on a good foundation. You weren't really in a place to be trying to form a relationship or a friendship, and so it just like demolishes.
That's a
I
very
love what you
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh,
I love
go
what
ahead.
you said, Brianna, because when you think about that, them feeling the effects of their previous relationship, if there's no communication on what those triggers are, what even destroyed a previous friendship, you could be hitting triggers for that person. Leads, to the next question of why are so many friendships ending before their time? And it could be that those triggers of, past
Mm-hmm.
hurts, communicated, will cause there to be a separation.
I think that's some very valid points because I was before Brianna was speaking. I was thinking about even past circumstances. It may not be a particular relationship. It could be a matter of a circumstance, situation, or a circumstance that happened to one of your friends that almost caused them to kind of isolate themselves. What if it was like maybe a loss of a family member? Maybe, hey, maybe they were in a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, they broke up and they don't want to talk to anyone. So even though, or, losing a job, I've had a few people when they're going through a very tough time, they separated themselves. They separated themselves from their friends, from their family, from school, from social media. So sometimes even just particular circumstances can destroy friendships. And it may not necessarily, I had to lack of a better term, your fault, but you can see it's other factors that you sometimes cannot predict or control that can essentially pull someone else away from you. So that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Are
I
you going
want
off of?
to.
Uh-oh. No, Joshua, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to add on to that. When you say you want like some individuals, they do want to isolate themselves. Um, but it's always those friends that always want to reach out to you just to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you are okay. I like those type of friends. Always making sure you are okay, like past traumas, like past relationships. It's always those friends that will reach out to you. And there's like what you said, um, Miss Joy, about like there's certain levels. I like to say like there's certain levels to friendships. Like you have people like you are close with, but not too close with.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Acquaintances, I should say.
Yep.
Like you talk to them, but like you don't trust them fully. Then you have those friends that you actually trust. You actually talk about your problems with. But I would like to ask this next question: what makes a good friend? Who is a good friend? I should say.
I'm glad I let you go first because what you said previously actually segues into this perfectly. So I was thinking about why the friendships, and I'm sorry, this is back on the last question, just a little bit though. Why, why friendships ended for the time is because they weren't really a good friend to begin with. You know, those friends, when you are dealing with hard times or even you're trying to isolate yourself, that friend should not let you do that. So if you're a good friend, you're going to be someone who is consistently there through the good and the bad, someone who's going to uplift you, someone who you, like I've already mentioned, you respect, someone you trust, you know, someone who holds you accountable. Like there, I could keep going. A good friend,
Yeah.
I think this is a good part that I want to bring out is they're going to call you out when you're wrong, and you should be expected to do the same to them. So a lot can be said about a good friend. And I think consistency is key. Like this is not just during a particular season, but consistently they're doing these things. So you
Exactly.
can trust them when they say they're going to do something. You know they have your best interest at heart. I could keep going.
Yeah, like I completely agree. Like loyalty. There's
Yeah.
someone like I heard this a lot growing up. Somebody they not two-faced. They
Okay.
not talk about you when you're not
Yeah.
around and then come and smile in your face. That's not a good friend. They consistent when they not with you and when they with you.
Right.
And then they're your friends even when it doesn't necessarily look good. So through the ugly and the pretty, you know, like
Yeah.
they're not just like, oh, she's doing good, I'm gonna be her friend right now. And then as soon as
Right.
you know you're going through a rough time, they just like, I'm gonna step back.
They're like, Brianna, who?
Right.
I don't know you.
To that person, you know.
I'm in agreement with that, and the good friends, they know when to step back, but they also know when to jump right back in. Because I'm a friend, especially if you know some of your friends that if they're experiencing some type of like uneasiness in their life, I'm kind of gonna give them maybe a day or two. But I'm gonna hit you up that third day with a call or text that you doing okay. So even knowing those boundaries, like hey, some people need personal space. You can't just try to jump in to try to address the problem head on with everyone. So even going back to what Joy and Brianna stated, it's great to challenge your friends, to hold them accountable, but also finding those times, okay, you have to be encouraging to your friends because it's certain things that they just need to uplift them, whatever they're doing within the moment. So I believe encouragement, of course, love, compassion, being understanding, like they may be going through this, and even just the understanding of your friendships or where you are. I love how Joshua broke it down too. There is levels. You do have certain individuals you might, like I said, when I was in college and when I was in Chicago, I had different friend groups. I had a friend group that's what to play basketball with, but we don't talk about anything deep. All we did was hang out, play basketball. We text each other, you meet at the court? Okay, cool. And that was like our friendship. Then we'll probably like, we'll see each other on campus and say, hey, what's up? But then you have those other friendships. Hey man, something's going on at home. I don't know who to talk to right now. Can you help me out? You got the study buddies. You have friendships for like different things. So, but you need to have an understanding and knowing that good friend is he or she is going to be consistent. They're going to be loyal. They're not going to be one person one day, the next, or turn to be someone else different the next day. They don't want you for something that you have. I had to understand it was a point in time. It was people. Some people they use people. Lack of a better term. So you need to know how to discern that with different people. According to friendships, are they just only hang out with you because you have a specific thing? What if you're smart in this class or you have money? They know that you care, you know that you're loving and things like that, and they use that against that, or they sincerely want to know you as a person. They seriously want to be your friend and to grow together. Even if it's not just in a relationship or romantic sense, but just I need that friend along the way in my life that's going to push me and challenge me, but even encourage me.
Right. And that's an answer to this question. A good friend is someone who is not your friend depending on what you can do for them.
Exactly.
They're not looking for the next handout. They're not looking for you to always do something for them. And I think you hit on something very important, LJ, that a good friend is going to understand what you need. So if you need some type of quiet time to understand what just happened, if you know you're experiencing a trauma or something that has happened that you're dealing with, a friend is gonna know when to like push in, but also when to ease up. They're not just gonna forget about you altogether, like you kind of said, Brother Joshua, about checking in on you. They're gonna know when, and it's not gonna be, well, I hope it goes well. It's gonna be, how can I help you? Like, what can I do to make this better? Is there something that you need from me in this moment? It's just being there, you know?
Yeah.
I want to say like to this question, consider like a
And I
good
think,
friend. I feel like uh, oh, I was gonna
oh
say like
no,
I
you
feel
can go.
like oh okay. This will be real quick. I feel like for me, I notice like who's actually good friends, like who I can actually trust during this pandemic, for example.
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
It's like for me, my senior year, we did all our learning online, so we really wasn't able to see each other. But you have like some people that can't see their friends, but for like our class, we used to say, "Oh, that's my school friend," but outside of school, it's like, "Oh, I just know that person. I really don't know that person." That makes sense. So
Yeah.
I feel like it's more like trust. Um, I should say it's more like trust. When you consider to be a good friend, yeah.
Yeah, that's good because, like you said, a good friend, you'll be at school with someone and you think that, you know, you kind of a good friend with them, but then outside
Yeah.
of school, you guys aren't communicating. And I feel like that is a really good part of any relationship is that communication factor.
Most
And so
definitely.
like, I think, you know, this is a good segue into the next question of like, how do you rebuild that friendship after a betrayal or hardship? Because lack of communication can be a really hardship in friendships. And if you thought someone was a good friend, but they're not communicating with you the way that you feel should happen, like how would you rebuild from that hardship or that betrayal?
That's a good question.
Very good question.
I think,
Go ahead, George.
all right, thank you. You have to address what went wrong, right? You have to say what has been going unsaid. You can't continue to just mull over it, go past it, because that's not even a true friendship. If you can't speak your mind, if you can't be honest with someone, then they are not your friend.
Yeah.
So again, you need to address what went wrong. And I mentioned this before. It could have really just been a misunderstanding. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, Heavenly, we have to communicate in any relationship. You have to communicate. So it's no different for a friendship. So basically, you have to also, I think this is crucial, you have to remember why you became friends in the first place.
Yes.
You have to go back to what are the good qualities that they possess. Why did I want to be, friends with them in the first place? So you acknowledge their good qualities, but you also have to call out what's wrong, what's bad, and then you guys can grow together from there. So I think when you do that, when you go back to the drawing board and you say, "This is why I was your friend. This is the mistake that happened. This is why we fell off. Now together, let's intentionally work on rebuilding it." And with that, I'll say it takes both parties, not just one person,
Perfect.
to rebuild that
Yes.
friendship.
Yes.
Everyone has something.
I love how you broke that down, Joy, because even when you acknowledging your faults or what you guys need to work on now, it's like now what are the next steps? Because let's be for real, grudges are real, bitterness is real, unforgiveness is real. People live with that every day from a particular friendship or particular relationship, we're not talking about weeks. We could talk about some people that bring something up from years ago.
Right, that
Right.
resentment can grow.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
resent. So those things are real. So for certain people, as stated before, the strongest friendships, they learn how to get through it. But it definitely needs steps need to be taken. So in scripture, we know we must confess our faults one to another. But what are the next steps? Particularly if someone has experienced trauma, going back to what Brianna shared earlier. If they experience this again, okay, what is my next step? Do I find another friend? Do I actually try to work this out? what are the next steps? So in rebuilding a friendship, we need the understanding. We need to know what happened, what's wrong, and what we can do to prevent that. But also, we may have to reestablish some boundaries. We may have to, re-emphasize some things before we move forward. Like, hey, I know, for example, I know we broke off because of that argument about the. This is like I said, this is like sports talk, but even an example like I know we fell off because I know we had a misunderstanding about that school project or what was going on between my family and when I lost so and so. Because in having that conversation, like right now, having that conversation and understanding would definitely pave the way for you guys to not only rebuild that friendship, but to even thrive through that friendship.
Yeah, and as you were speaking,
I love it. Oh, I'm sorry. No,
it'd be real quick. But as you were speaking and even thinking back to Heavenly, what she said about communication, rebuilding a friendship could look like understanding how each other communicates, like understanding how someone wants to be spoken to, how they internalize information, but just learning how they communicate would be key to rebuilding a friendship. That's all I wanted to add.
No, it's awesome that you said that because that kind of segues into something that I found. So Adam Smiley Poswalski is the author of Friendship in the Age of Loneliness. And he actually suggested that when there's an issue between friendships, to try different ways of communicating. Because let's say you tried the way that your friend normally would, but in this circumstance they are just really bitter and really hurt. So you may have to think outside the box if this is really a relationship that you want to hold on to try and reach them, try to get them to hear you, and so that you can hear them. So he actually suggested maybe even trying writing a letter. Like if you know that you and your friend always try to talk things through and that doesn't work, maybe writing a letter before you guys actually talk so that you can hear each other.
That's interesting. Because it does make you think now, okay, if things are still pretty rough, because we know rebuilding a friendship or any type of relationship is not the easiest. But for some friends I have a few friends. I know we've been at it, then like 1 or 2 days later we talk to squash it, we move forward. But it is those friendships. It may take a week or two, maybe. I remember I had we're friends again now. It was one friend after high school. We didn't talk for about a good year to 2 years. How our friendship ended was again some other stuff that happened. But it took a while until one day we just say, you know what, let's squash this. It was like a different form of communication. It wasn't like, how are you doing? I think it was just a matter of a text being sent. I forgot who sent it first. It was like, hey man, how you doing? I know we ended on wrong terms, but I was, just thinking about you. I was like, I want to see how you're doing. So sometimes it just be more direct. I know with me, sometimes my attention getter, if you want to get my attention, especially if you go Rocky, if you introduce food to the equation. Hey, we get some food. I'll be like, all right, look. I'm like, all right, I got to think about this. So I think that's interesting because I think for different people, different ways of communication does work. What if it's direct, indirect, something that they like that may not be even close to what's going on, like food or a movie or coffee, Starbucks, whatever it may be. So I think that was interesting heavily.
I completely agree with all of you guys that communication is key, because oftentimes when a betrayal happens, you instantly no longer want to talk to that person, see that person. You just like, I'm done with them. But
I'm a fan.
Like, you need to talk to them so you can get through. You can figure out why it happened. You can figure it out within yourself and with others. Like, it might have just been something that you did, or it's something that the other person did. But like, you have to talk about it in order to get through it, to figure out how you can change, how you can fix it so it won't necessarily happen again, or you can like try to prevent it, which kind of leads us into our next question. How do you maintain friendships, and what do boundaries look like? I just want to start by saying frequent interaction.
Yes.
Frequent.
Like like me and my friend, we like to hang out a lot, and like even if we don't talk every day, but if we want to see each other, we're trying to make time to see each other, because you can't really, if you don't talk to each other, then how are you going to build a relationship at all?
Right. You can say my name.
Give me a little shout out.
My best friend Joy. Like,
yes, we definitely check up on each other.
We try to text each other every day. Sometimes we're too busy to do it, but we do, and we try to see each other, a couple times a week, because we want to build, like, we know we have like a solid foundation, but we want to build and try to prevent any thing like negative things from happening in our relationship, which is why we communicate frequently, we see each other frequently.
Yeah, and going off of that, so if Bree's like, I haven't seen you in like 4 days, what's the issue? What's going on? And then of course we be like, okay, let's plan this. But to continue to answer the question, maintaining a friendship it's important that there's face-to-face interaction. So I know in this time, this day and age, we're so attached to our phones, social media, just shoot them a text. But that face-to-face, spending time with them is so important. And I think also doing things that you both enjoy, but also trying to do things that challenges I'm so sorry, that challenges the other person to get out of their comfort zone is important as well. And one more thing I want to say to maintain a friendship is having those hard conversations, because you don't want to have them after the fact, after y'all broke up and said we no longer want to be friends. Like, have the hard conversations during that friendship, and I think that'll help with sustaining it and even making it stronger. And also, while you're having that hard conversation, you can discuss boundaries. So basically, understanding what the other one is willing to do and not to do. You're going to respect them, speaking to them in a respectful way. Again, going back to what you said, Brother LJ, about your friend trying to control you and telling you what to do. Having equality and not expecting, this is really big for me as far as boundaries, but you're not expecting something from them that you're not willing or able to give yourself.
I think that's great. I think that's a really good description, and of answering the question, because even sometimes you need to reestablish those boundaries as well, and even share with individuals, even depending on where you are in life, if you have to reestablish some or have to change some boundaries. For myself, I'll say pretty much the past, several years, I've been more committed to my spiritual walk than ever. So it was some things that had to be detached from certain, activities and behaviors. So now it's to a point, like, some of those desires that I once have are gone. Of course, the testing and the challenging comes here and there, but those friends that understand where you are, particularly in your spiritual walk, those are the ones, you can keep and definitely be able to reestablish those boundaries. So say, like I said, when I was younger, I used to, go out clubbing, drinking, whatever it used to be. But now with my spiritual walk, that's something that I don't desire. So now you see who's your true friends are. Now, like, since you don't do that, who's really gonna be sticking around, hanging and talking to you? But even those individuals who kind of know your past, and they may say, let's do this, or try to force it on your throat. They may say, hey man, you want to go out? You want to take a break for something? I'm just like, no, that's not what I like to do anymore. I prefer to do this. Now we go do this. We go bowling. We go for a walk. We get some coffee, and to see where that goes. Because some people are like, you know what, we can't do that. Some friends are willing to change because of another person's different interests. Like, going back to the article that talked about how friendships end, some end because different interests are changing, different environments are changing, different spiritual walks are changing. So I think when it comes to maintaining friendships, if that change needs to happen when it comes to boundaries or because of interests or where you are just in life, or if it's occupationally, financially, educationally, if you're starting a family, say that, like, hey, I got a family now. I can't go out anymore. I have a job now. I can't do this, that, and the other. But even that communication. But hey, I probably might have some free time on this upcoming Tuesday. If you're available, let's do something. And just extend that invitation. But don't make it an excuse. Trust me, a lot. I know some people that they'll try to use that. I gotta work, all these different excuses to not hang out.
Right, and then you see a snap. They with their other friend. Oh,
They were
Oh,
oh,
that's what you
okay.
had to do.
Pete, noted. So yeah, so
Right, noted.
so establishing those boundaries again, and even just let them know. Like I said, for me, my spiritual walk, that's something I'm more committed to. I know I'm not perfect. I have a lot I still need to be delivered from and need to work on. But understanding those friends who are with you, to say, hey man, that's not my lane anymore. I try to stay away from it, just for your own protection as well, and for the protection of others. And I think the real friends will understand that.
Right, and I think going back to what do boundaries look like, it's just setting those expectations. And I think that can easily be done when you have those face-to-face interactions and you're talking to them. And I think even the expectations will almost be evident. It's important to say them, but it will also be evident as you guys spend more time with each other. You understand what the other expects because I don't know about you guys, but I generally am I do what I would want to receive in a friendship. So like I would want them to reciprocate it. Like what I do is what I would hope they would do. So like I try to be there. I try to make myself present when we're together. I try to do things with them. I even like I start conversations. And so I think just having those expectations clear to both parties is it's an important boundary to set, and it's going to help maintain the friendship. And so this is a
Yeah.
oh sorry. Was someone
Oh, well, no, I was just thinking about, kind of the times that we're in, with COVID and everything. That sometimes, being able to have that face-to-face interaction isn't always possible. So sometimes maintaining that friendship is just literally being able to know that, like with one of the 5 requirements of a strong friendship is independence, to know that even, when you guys are separated, that you guys are still friends. When you come back together, it's like as if y'all haven't even been separated.
Right.
Just understanding,
Right.
being mindful of the fact that, hey, I'm busy, you're busy. But when we come together, we're spending that time together and we're moving those other distractions out the way.
That's good.
That's great.
That's good.
I love how you said I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. But
It's the
Josh is
lagging.
it's the lag. Right, we'll put it on that.
I like for me how I maintain friendships. Sorry for the I like to have conversations when I go out. Not try to be like socially awkward, but always have those like dialogues with like my friends when I do go out. I know the other day this week, I seen one of my friends from high school on campus, and sometimes we don't see each other. We see each other about once or twice a week if I'm actually playing basketball or I'm just walking around the campus with her sister. But it's those friendships that like asks how I'm doing. I know I posted on my Instagram when I went to New Buffalo with Brother LJ and like Apostle Paula, and she asked me what I was doing. She knows I'm like very connected with the ministry. Some of the things I do, like ministry wise, assignment wise, it's just those situations I really enjoy with my friends. 3 individuals I like that actually know what I do, and it's some of the boundaries. We all set each other boundaries. So like if they want to like go out, I'll say I can, but I have to do some with the ministry during that time, and they'd be like, okay, don't worry, take your time, just reach or come back with us when you can if we're still in the area. And I just like how they always ask me before going out, like, hey, do you have to do such and such with the ministry? I'm like, okay, thank you so much for asking me this. I'd be like, no, I don't, or yeah, I do, and they'd be like, okay, let's change the time so you can do what you have to do first, because they totally understand how Apostle Paul is, How Brother LJ is. I'm like, okay, even though they never met her, even though they
Even
never
if they
met,
never met her.
they know how they know how she rolls. So it's really nice how it works now. But like it's those friendships I really like having. So that's why I wanted to share. Uh, Maintaining friendship is like the conversation. Setting boundaries is always key. Uh, Letting you know what this individual do in their free time and what I do in my free time, so we can also have a great time when we do see each other again.
I love how you use that example, Joshua, of them just being respectful, that you do have
Yeah.
commitments to assignments and to the ministry. And I love friendships like that because they understand who you are, they understand what's important to you. And that leads to the next question: can individuals be good friends, best friends with someone of different beliefs or faith?
Uh, it goes back. This definitely goes back to how do some friendships end, and this can be one of them because it is very difficult to be best friends with someone with different beliefs and faith. Because with best friends, you kind of almost see that person as like at least 90% compatible to you, at least. Like, and if you guys are going through different faiths, or have either different faiths, or one may have one faith and no faith at all, it's very difficult to relate, particularly when you're going through a time or a season. So you may want to be able to talk about, to that friend, something about prayer, fasting, what it means, just talk about scripture. I think the other day, me and my friends, my friend and I, we were just sharing scriptures about, what we like, what we meditate on, and it's good conversation because it's something that we can relate to. But you're not gonna go to if a best friend with a different faith, like, man, I was just meditating on Proverbs 12:26, and it was good. They could be like, what? And how does that conversation go? So with the best friend, that title, best friends, I see that's someone that's almost like I said, 85 to 90% compatible to you. And in that compatibility, having similar faiths will definitely it will help because it's something that you can relate to. When it comes to even counsel, when it comes to advice, when it comes to just talking about scripture, it may never be you and that person go through a rough time. It could be just like, man, I was just thinking about Psalms 51 about how David, he was asking for forgiveness. I was thinking about that too. Like, stuff like have conversations like that. So it's difficult to be best friends. You could be cordial, you can have good friends that's not of this, of the same faith or have different beliefs, but best friends, that's tight.
Yeah, for that reason, I'm gonna say no. Go ahead, Ashley.
No, it's fine. Go.
I was saying when LJ said his last words, I said, and for that reason, it's a hard no for me.
It's hard
no. You cannot be best friends. You can't be like this, with someone who doesn't believe in what you believe in. Because I'll take me and Bree for an example. We say we're each other's best friend, and I don't think we could be that because most of our conversation is faith-based, and it's just having an understanding of our core values, what we believe to be true, and how we live our lives. So you can't be best friends with someone who does not understand that.
Right.
So there's always going to be like some resistance. There's going to be some form of clashing. And you right, it's not going to work, and it's not going to produce anything fruitful. You're not going to grow from it. Now, I believe you said this, LJ. You can be acquaintances, you can be cordial with someone of different beliefs, and we've kind of alluded to this throughout the conversation today, that there are different levels of friendships. Some friends you just go to who with. I don't. But y'all have said that.
I don't
there are certain different groups. But if we're talking about best friends, which is like that person that you're so close with, they're almost like family. I mean, I consider Bree family, right? Then we gotta be believing the same thing. Right. So yes, for this question, it's a hard no.
Hard no. Hard no.
And that is so good. Like you said, if that clashing begins to happen, and I always, for me, I go back to the word. When you think about being unequally yoked, a lot of people reference that towards marriage, but that's towards all relationships. So if you have a friendship where you're unequally yoked, I mean, the yoke is talking about two oxen. And so they have this yoke around their neck, which means they have the same burden. We know our burden is to go out and to, present the gospel. And so if my friend doesn't have that same burden, and I'm pulling this way every time we talking, I'm talking about God and I'm ministering to other people, and they just sitting there and just like rolling their eyes like she always talking about God. And so pulling the other way, which again goes to earlier in the slides where we're talking about the patterns of what destroys a friendship. It's growing that dislike. They're gonna grow to dislike you because they're like, she always talking about something that I can't agree with, and I can't. It's starting to get on my nerves.
I completely agree with you guys. Because like when we think about, our belief system, our faith, that's how we live. We live by our faith. That's how we walk. That's how we talk. That's how we decide what we're going to do in anything. So if we don't have if we have different foundations, how you gonna build something on an uneven foundation? If the foundation ain't the same, you wouldn't build a house. It's like this. Okay. Come on with the like I have to be like
with the architect.
Like I mean, like if y'all have different beliefs, like I mean, y'all might like certain things that are the same, but how are any of your conversations going to lead to anything? Like y'all gonna clash so many times because I believe in something and they believe in something completely different, and I'm standing by my beliefs. I'm not gonna change to be friends with someone else. Amen. So. Yeah, it's a no for me, dog.
Oh my goodness! And as you were speaking, I'm thinking in my head. You said like how y'all can even communicate through a conversation. I'm thinking about what God has in store for you all to do together. Because a lot of times, like you mentioned heavily, the unequally yoked, they apply it to being married or in a relationship. And even sometimes they relate what I'm going to say to that as far as having an assignment to do together. But as friends, God brings those, two people together. He connects them for a reason and a purpose. And if you guys can't fulfill that, then what is the purpose of the friendship?
Yeah, that's very good. That's a very good question. And I'm gonna say this one quick thing because, like, I know. So going back to the levels of the friend commit. So you have those best friends, of course, the compatibility. But even having, because you do want to be able to, as heavily was to minister the gospel. What if one of those friends is that what if somebody was placed like for you to minister the gospel, and I take that to consider. Now, of course, don't make them your best friend. Like, let's be BFFs,
right?
But just also being cognizant of where you are, where the relation or the friendship is. Like, hey, this might be an opportunity for me to be their light. It may be the opportunity for me to present the gospel to them. It may not be scripture. It may not be full of scripture after scripture, but just sneaking it in there every day. Well, the Bible said, what you gotta be every time y'all hang out. Bible this, Bible that, Bible that. So that's what I was thinking as well. But yeah, best friends. Yeah, that's difficult. Like, yeah, it could be a hard no. Which leads us, honestly, to our last question. We're talking about wisdom when we talk about our friendship. So in Proverbs chapter 20:6, in the Passion Translation, the writer poses this question. Many will tell you they're your loyal friends, but who can find one who is truly trustworthy?
As you read that, I'm thinking like so many people think they're loyal too, They're like, yeah, I got you. I'm by your side. You ain't got to worry. Like, I'm here for you. But when that hard time hit, nowhere could be found. So many they'll tell you because they think, they think they're loyal. But as far as who can find one who is truly trustworthy, I really truly believe that goes back to it being a God thing and him connecting you to the right individuals and to the right person. And just even at the most basic level. Someone who is trustworthy is someone who you can trust because they've shown you that you can trust them over time. And so basically, I believe you can find those who are trustworthy when they are going to endure those hard times with you, and whose actions line up actually with what's coming out of their mouth. So that goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. They're going to show you that they love you. They're going to show you that they care. They're going to show you that you can trust them, and they don't even have to say it, but it's seen in their actions. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Brianna.
I completely agree that, and something you said earlier, it takes time because you can't just like meet someone automatically be like, I trust you.
Right.
That don't
Right.
make no sense.
Right.
Like
I feel
it
that.
takes time. Like you, that's why you have to. That's why you have to have that interaction, that communication, so you can get to know the person, spend time with them, so you can see if they're worthy to be trusted. Like, and trust has to be built up. You know, it can't just
Yes.
come out of thin air. You have to spend that time.
Mm,
Yes.
that's
As you're
great.
speaking, I'm sorry. Forgive me. But let me say this real quick, please, because I don't want to lose it. But basically, as you were speaking, Brianna, it literally came to me, even for someone to be trustworthy, they have to have an understanding of what truth is. And so that goes kind of back to like the last question. How can you be best friends when y'all are on different foundations that you don't believe the same thing? But basically, if we know what is true, and as Christians, as believers, we are to be lovers of truth, then we know like what is right. We know what is wrong according to God's word, according to his standards. And so when you're living by those standards and you're living by, then you can actually see in your friendship if they're doing the same. And that'll also be another indicator of if they're trustworthy. Do their actions line up with God's word? Are they doing, what he says to do? So I just want to throw that in there. Thank you for letting me say it so I didn't lose it.
No, it's okay. I actually want to reference what you stated earlier, Joy, about giving into a friendship that you expect what they will give back, and that's when you think about the trustworthiness of a friend. Because I know there's been plenty of times I've given a lot to some of my friends when they're going through hard times. What if it was time, money, food, with some food, but when that time came for me, I'll say out of 10 people, maybe one person came. So you see in those moments, who can you find one who's truly trustworthy? I think it's that person that who you sow into, they'll sow it right back to your life. They'll give that time right back. They'll give, not saying that every time you sow, you expected someone to return, but you like, they'll say, hey, or they even be like, hey man, you was there in my downfall, or you was there in my lows, my downs, my ugly. Now I'm going to be there with you in your ugly and your downs. So it's so you would know, you would definitely know. You would know when the sky is light, sunny, beautiful, grass is green, blue skies, fresh air. You see everybody out having fun talking, but you'll start to see those real people when the clouds are dark. People don't want to be outside, but someone's there right there next to you. That's how I see, who is truly trustworthy. At the end of the day, through all the chaos that's probably going on in your life, the challenges and the circumstance, who is there right with you in the moment, encouraging you, still challenging you. It may not be like, man, get up, man, you gotta do better. Just like, hey man, I know you're going through some time. Hey, I'm here right with you. I know some things may need to change, but I'm here right with you if you need anything. So I consider that a person, a truly trustworthy person.
I'll even say this. Someone who is trustworthy, again, they're consistent, but they're going to remind you of what you know is true.
Yes.
So in those times and in those moments where you're doubting or you're not clearly thinking, they're going to say, no, this is true, and you know it to be true. They're going to remind you of who you are, because sometimes you need a reminder. And I can say this because I know we're all believers and we're Christians, but they're going to remind you what God's word says, Joy is going to come in the morning. So even though you're going through something hard, you're going to get through this. Plus, I'm here, but even better, you got Jesus with you. You know, he's a present help in every time of need. Like
Okay, preach.
Okay.
He's
He's never gonna forsake you. Like, you need someone who can remind you of the truth.
Yes. That points you back.
Yeah.
When you lose it a bit, they'll point you back to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what John said. I forgot in which chapter. He said, I didn't come. I'm not the savior. I was sitting here to point others to Christ. So you need those individuals in your life that will point. I like that, Joy. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's a lot to take into this question, because now, like, really moving forward, we do have to analyze some of our friendships, but even in anticipation that a friendship is coming, because you do not know how we talk about our other friends, but this also applies to us. This applies to myself, Heavenly, Joy, Brianna, and Joshua, how we can be good friends to people. So, I mean, this was a conversation, you guys. This was a conversation, and it was exciting to engage in rich dialogue and discussion with my peers and to everyone who tuned in to discuss friendships and answer the question, are you a good friend? And, before we go, we like to invite everyone to follow us on Facebook at Go Vertical and Instagram at Go_Vertical. And this is for updates, posts. We have devotionals and future events. So again, we would like to say thank you. Thank you all for joining us today. Until next time, go strong, go forward, and go vertical. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Until next time.
Yes.